All right, guys, Coach Gaglione here. This video is for information and educational purposes only. I'm Coach Gaglione. I've been involved in powerlifting since 2006. I've been in business since 2011. And I am going to, this is another episode of What's Grinding Gags Gears. And I am kind of on a mission to help kind of shift powerlifting culture back to what it was in the golden era. We got Cincinnati Record Breakers. Cincinnati Record Breakers is coming back. We're kind of rebranding it through RPS. And so this is kind of why. Again, Rondell Hunt's a great example. Unbelievable talent, generational talent. He has gotten screwed over by his kind of federation more times than not. But he was able to achieve his first world title. So I'm very happy for him. And I would have loved to have seen him, duke it out with people like Larry and stuff like that. But anyways, he is on, the tested side of things. So one of the things I'm doing with the RPS in particular, and what my goal is to kind of provide a platform for underserved populations. So that's monolift, raw with wraps, equipped lifting, untested, strict curl, kind of everything kind of falls into those kind of buckets. If you want to do a tested power bar, combo rack, walked out meet, I've kind of talked about many times before my gripe with the combo rack, but one of the things that is disheartening is seeing kind of the judging standard. And I've kind of talked about, I think that we need to kind of go back a little bit towards the middle when it comes to egregious squat depth. We're kind of seeing people get hip surgeries earlier and earlier, like the JP Prices of the world, for example. Again, we can only speculate. JP Price, Blaine Sumner, I would say is a direct result of why he started competing exclusively equipped, and originally he was kind of doing both. Larry Wheels ended up kind of with an accident, which I could probably maybe pull up quickly because the spotters were not able to kind of catch him out of stands. We had to withdraw him from the U.S. Open, and I believe he would have won that meet. The Battle of the 242s. But anyways, this is an example where you can kind of see, even at the international level, there's issues with judging. You could see that Rondell Hunt has a really developed kind of tricep forearm. He's a big guy, and not many people are as developed as him in the IPF. You can kind of speculate, and again, this is this is for information and educational purposes only. I have no, like I said, there's no like ill intent towards any particular federation, but it is a kind of a global phenomenon in terms of like the judging standard across. So anyways, this is from an excerpt from Rondell's channel, and there's no way affiliated with any particular organization or particular party. But anyways, here you can kind of see on this attempt here, Rondell has some muscle, and sometimes when you have some muscle, when you have a bench shirt, when you have a squat suit on, joint angles and things look different. This is why judges need to be more experienced, and even at the IPF level, you can kind of see here what happens. So very easy press here. So again, you'll see that he ends up getting one red light and it gets overturned, which is insane. And yeah, so let's just hear his commentary on this matter.
All right, that's bench done. We hit 260. On the opener, we went for 235, which was easy. It felt easy, but they called me for soft elbows. I got one red, and then they overturned it.
So essentially, that the jury, which I think it could be good, the jury overturned the opener. It was clearly an easy lift. It clearly was not something he was trying to cheat or struggle with. And luckily Rondell is a G, and he was able to overcome that adversity. Didn't let it get to him. That's a true class act, and that's someone that as a professional, as a lifter. But let's hear what he says and what he had to do to adjust on the day.
Which was super surprising, but you adjust on the day. So on the next few attempts, I really exaggerated to the point where my elbow hurts just a little bit. But
so again, he is so humble, he's so gracious, but he's a younger guy still. What he's saying is he had to hyperextend, he had to exaggerate his elbow lockout, and this is now what we want to speculate is, what if this is every single meet this happens? What if every single meet he has to exaggerate that elbow lockout? What is that going to do to the joint wear and tear? What if that's also on a deadlift lockout? What is that going to do to your spine? What if that's also on squat depth? What if that's also on the press command on a bench? And notice how I'm trying to really be clear. I'm trying to even not say what the word pause anymore, because it's not a pause. It's when the bar is motionless. It's a press command. It's meant to, when the bar is motionless, when you make contact, you get a press command. There's no pause. Okay, so I think we need to kind of be very clear with that. We need to kind of make sure that we're putting the athlete's safety above the standard. There needs to be a standard now. And in terms of like an international competition like this, in terms of all-time records, absolutely, those lifts should be scrutinized. I think that the jury system is great. I think having some sort of board of directors, maybe on open powerlifting, I think those things would be great. But again, for the 70-year-old grandma or the 10-year-old, like I said, I kind of mentioned before, like with Bryn, got a red light and from a local referee because she moved her pinky slightly during the squat, and it wasn't so much that she got the red light for it, because I understand that you need to grasp the bar. That's part of the rules. But it was the attitude that was kind of given to her, to a 10-year-old. It was attitude that was kind of given to a coach with 20 years of experience. And again, I'm like I always shake the judges' hands. I always teach sportsmanship. But that kind of streak goes both ways. And this is a problem. And I'm not going to stand for it. And I think this is important. I know some people sometimes feel that criticism is an attack on the person's character. I'm attacking the idea. I'm attacking the construct and the culture, not the person that is kind of doing the infraction. But this is kind of like what I want to get back to powerlifting. Slingshot record breakers, Reebok record breakers. Maybe the judging was a little bit looser. Maybe the judging was not like the most important aspect of the lift. It was the vibes. It was the culture. It was the camaraderie. So let's take a look at some of Larry Wheels' records. This is 242. This is right after. So this is right after Larry Wheels lost head-to-head to Andrew Herbert. Rocking the 8-man singlet. Who's that coach yelling? And boom, like a rocket. So good standard there, not egregiously deep. That was good for a 771 squat and a PR in the 242s.
771, baby. We're on our way for a new world record. Stay tuned.
Talking some ish. I love it. This is a 573-pound bench. Motionless, exploding up. It's not excessive. There's no like pause there. It's motionless. We drive up. I think this was Eddie Cohen was the head judge. Good for still a great bench to this day, the 242s. And in this particular pull, so Larry broke the all-time record on the second attempt. This was, you could see Kevin Oakes watching closely here, and this was to kind of pull him in the lead for best lifter. This is the kind of battles I want to see. Like I said, no offense to like someone like Shell Beckland or whatever like this. I want to see Kevin Oak versus Larry Wheels. I want to see Andrew Herbert versus Larry Wheels. I want to see, Colton Engelbright versus Andrew House. I want to see Colton Engelbright versus, I would love to see Colton Engelbright versus Jesus versus Dan Bell. I'd love to see. Anyway, so these are the types of battles and characters and superheroes that I want to see on a platform. Not have to worry about if they're going to get a red light because they're not hyperextending their back, going egregiously deep on a squat. It's absolutely smashed. Absolutely smashed. Look at this. Boom. And that was good enough for, and again, I will say that I was a little bit, I shouldn't be like running across the platform and stuff like that. I was excited. I was a younger coach. Okay, that was for the world record. Sorry, this is the attempt for. So that's what I'm saying. We weren't even like celebrating. Like that was for the world record. This is for best lifter. Excuse me. This is the 826. And still, again, a clean lift. Again, but at this time, Larry's lockout was a little bit of a problem. So that was about all he had. That was a perfect attempt that kind of edged out Kevin Oak. And you can kind of see that Kevin is still he's upset, but he's still the meet is over at this point. So he's still he's showing support for his not his teammate, but his competitor. And this is kind of the camaraderie that you saw at Slingshot Record Breakers, at Reebok Record Breakers, held by Jesse Burdick. And you get to see, now this is a really important one as well as we kind of enter I have my final full powerlifting meet in Farmingdale. It's Long Island Insurrection. The story behind Insurrection was Gene Reichlak was tired of meets running until 12 o'clock at midnight. He was tired of some of the poor judging. The judging at the time was a little bit too far the other way, where, kind of like of the holy war is the IPA. And that's kind of where the IPA is almost always called the high PA. So a lot of times those high squats were getting passed. Gene Reichlak was not having it. Gene Reichlak was not only the first man to bench 1,000 pounds, but he was the first man to squat and bench 1,000 pounds in competition. And he did so. He made a point. Even though he was a bench only guy, he made sure he dunked 1,000. He went like extra deep. I would say like probably 2 or 3 inches below parallel, just to kind of prove a point that you could squat deep and multiply. You could hit a good standard and multiply. And that was kind of the idea of Long Island Insurrection. That he was invading Long Island. He was kind of set the standard and start the revolution. And then we're kind of doing so with strict curl, and we're trying to bring that revolution back to the forefront with Cincinnati record breakers. This is at Hofstra University. This is an 810-pound squat en route to Stan Efferding's all-time record historic total. I think we may still have this singlet somewhere. See, he's rocking the G-Team socks. Again, not egregiously deep, nice and, it was about as low as he's going to be able to get to with a good standard. So that was a really solid squat there. I was pretty pumped about that. This is one of the greatest full beat benches of all time. Still to this day, we have Black Tom Cruise, Otis Perkins. This is a 610-pound bench attempt. You got Carl Carl's one of our referees. He's also makes all those cool sculptures for RPS. Beautiful lift. Again, his coach man's doing a good job of calling those numbers. He's got a good batting average, so doing a good job there. 600-pound bench press. And this is for the all-time record, to break Stan Efferding's record. He smashed this. It was around 1,000 kilos. This was also to edge out Chris Delafave for biggest deadlift of the day. And Chris is a legend in multiply and in limited lifting. So this was the biggest deadlift of the day. You got all the greens, all the RPS greens on there. This is an 855-pound deadlift. And that was, again, another perfect call. I don't know if Larry had much more in his lockout there, so that was perfect call on the day. Again, and now this was, fast forward to 2020, the world had shut down. We decided that we didn't want to just break the record. Eric Lillibridge's long-standing 308 world record. This was so it was 2369. Historic lift. Eric Lillibridge and the Lillibridge family is historic. We didn't want to just break it at a local meet. We wanted to kind of do it at the Arnold. Now, but the world had other plans. The world had shut down. The Arnold had been canceled. And then I just said, Larry, keep training. And then lo and behold, Danny Digg and XPC was able to pull through. We were able to get the meet back on track. We lifted it with Julius Maddox. We had kind of words from Eddie Hall. We got a lot of encouragement from a lot of people. But this was kind of the big one. Larry flew in from Dubai for this, and we wanted to kind of make his third all-time record to kind of solidify him in history, with the John Hacks, the Eddie Cohns of the world. This is rare air. This is a third all-time record attempt in the 308 weight class. Larry weighed in very light as in 280-pound range. This is still one of the greatest sleeve performances of all time, and let's take a look. So this is 870-pound squat and knee sleeves. This was the meet where he really kind of made his weakness a strength. Great position in the pocket. Again, perfect depth right on the line. And that was a good enough for 3 white lights. This is the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest full meet bench of all time, pound for pound. This is a 645-pound bench press, weighing in the low 280s. You can see my chubby little self with the handoff. Spotters are into it. The crowd is into it. This is a 645 bench attempt. Good pause, deliberate, and that's, again, about all he had. One of the greatest full meet benches of all time. Still an all-time record in raw powerlifting for his weight class. Amazing lift there. And this was the big one. This is Larry's second attempt. This is an 55-pound deadlift. This will it's a routine lift for him, but this was give him enough to edge out Eric Lillibridge's historic world record. And still had a little bit more in the tank, but unfortunately his grip and his talus tore. So he elected to just stop at 8 for 8. I believe he had over 2,400 on the day. let's make meets great again. Let's come back to, so Cincinnati Record Breakers is going to be on November 14th. Check out the Revolution Powerlifting website. It's going to be at Beat Fitness. One of the reasons why we wanted to bring it to Ohio is because Louis Simmons, Westside Barbell, the mecca of powerlifting, started in Ohio in the Buckeye State. So we want to kind of bring the record breaker performances to Cincinnati. We are going to be working with Jesse Burdick. We are going to be working with Slingshot and Mark Bell. And we want to make meets great again. So if you want to kind of put a fight to all the BS, all the nonsense of some of these organizations, support Cincinnati Record Breakers. If you want to judge, if you want to score, if you want to sponsor, be part of the revolution. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.